Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk, a new kind of podcast where no topic is off limits. We're bringing in experts and owners to have the conversations we should be having as a dog community. Each week, a new guest will share firsthand experiences, educational resources, or professional guidance to help you learn and grow along with your dog. You won't get one perspective here, you'll get them all, because every dog is different and every owner is too.
You can follow along on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Straight Up Dog Talk, or by visiting www.straightupdogtalk.com. Tune in from any of your favorite podcast platforms.
Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk. I'm Em. We're back again this week with Josh.
Hello.
And this week we have our guest Tanya with us. How are you doing today, Tanya?
I'm good.
I'm excited. I'm excited too. We have kind of a lot to cover here with you. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your dog Barney?
So, my name is Tanya. I live in Massachusetts. I got Barney about a year and 2 months now, although it feels like he's been here forever. Barney is a rescue. He is very energetic. Well, he's not high energy. He's like moderate energy. He's very friendly. He's very social. He needs that in order to be happy, I've realized. So we've actually met a lot of people that way because he socializes with everyone. And it's actually helped me get out and socialize as well, which is probably good for me. I'm not really sure what else.
Why don't you start with how you became a dog walker?
So I worked at my company for 6 years. I wasn't always happy, but it was fine. Over the past year, they changed my job a lot. They kept changing my route. I was in sales for a beer and wine distributor, which I like sales because I do like talking to people. I don't really like beer or wine, but I liked my accounts. They just kept changing my route, and it was really frustrating. It was just nitpicking things, and I realized I wasn't happy. It wasn't worth time or money, and because of the route change, I had to drive further, which meant that cut into my Barney time. The only reason I stayed at that job was because I had enough time to spend with Barney and take him to the park and do things with him. So I left my job in the middle of December. I took about a month off, and I was thinking about what to do for a living. And my partner suggested dog walking because this is a really dog-friendly area. Everyone has a dog. Everyone's always looking for dog walkers, and I didn't realize that. And I spoke to people at the dog park, and they encouraged me to try it. So I started walking dogs in the neighborhood and for people I met at the dog park. And then I signed up for Rover, and Rover has been about nonstop. It's like I was worried I wouldn't get any clients. And now I probably have to turn some people away because I'm getting so many requests, especially now, like people are starting to go on vacation and they need more check-ins or boarding. And it's got a lot busier than I realized. So yeah.
And so you also offer some pet sitting as well, correct?
I started not through Rover because I wasn't sure how it would kind of pan out. I started just doing dog walking and check-ins with Rover, but I did start sitting dogs I knew from the park, like Barney's best friend Clyde. I knew that would be a good fit here, that they would get along. So I opened up to people that I knew that I would start boarding their dogs. I thought it wasn't an option because I don't have a fenced-in yard, but I also don't have a fenced-in yard, and I take Barney out, and so it just requires the same amount of effort of just taking the dogs out a lot to go to the bathroom and take walks and just being out and about. So I'm starting out slowly. I don't want to put too much on my plate. I'm already getting a little overwhelmed.
I think that's a good way to start. I was a pet sitter for many years, a couple of times in my life when I was really young and then when I was older. And that's kind of what I did too, is I incorporated friends and family into my allowing them to stay because my dogs were familiar with their dogs and things like that. So I think that's a great way to start. And I'm really glad to hear how successful you are and how well it's going for you, because it is an industry that needs people who, one, like dogs, and two, are, actively involved in making sure that the dogs are well taken care of. So I'm really glad that you were able to get it going and that it's going well, because it is something that you love so much.
It is. I've taken care of dogs and cats has always been a great love of mine. I take that responsibility very seriously. It's the only thing that I've ever been felt fulfilled by. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I just wasn't sure about the financial risk, but my partner encouraged me. So I'm really glad that it worked out, because when I lived on my own, I would not have been able to take that risk.
It's really great to have somebody that's supportive of your dreams. I think that's fantastic. And I applaud him for encouraging you to go in that direction as well. Why don't you talk a little bit about Barney, just in general, where you got him from, why you decided on his name, and just a little bit more about his personality, because you can tell everybody like what breeds you suspect he is and all that kind of stuff, because he is just a cutie. We just got a preview of him there for a second. He's a real cutie.
Yeah. I guess the bed next to me wasn't good enough. He wants to be, he's good for now. He might end up jumping on the table, and he seems to be really bothered with me focusing on the computer and not him. So Barney is from Missouri. He was discovered wandering into a schoolyard because the kids were out playing, and he wanted to play with the kids, and then he tried to follow them inside. So they called an organization to pick him up. So he was fostered in Missouri, and they partner with the place I got him in Connecticut, Fetching Hearts Rescue. I found him on Pet Finder. I actually applied for another dog before him, but she was being adopted, and he showed up like 2 days later, and his story reminded me of one of my childhood dogs. That's how we found him. He wandered into my sister's preschool yard, and we ended up taking him home, and he was a really good dog. They suspected he was around 3, but I think he was probably closer to 2. So I've had him a year, so I think maybe he's around 3 now. But he was a stray, so they don't know his history. And they guessed he was wire hair terrier and Staffordshire terrier mix. I will probably eventually do a DNA test. It's a pretty good guess. He's got a staffy build, and he has that wire hair. And he's definitely has the hunting instinct of like a terrier. He's always looking for bunnies in the neighborhood and other critters. But it was his social aspect of his personality that saved him, that got him discovered. Because when he has kids or people playing in the neighborhood, he immediately wants to go over. He wants to be in the action. He wants to be a part of the party. So he was initially named Noodle, but he didn't know his name. It was just a name to give him a name, as a lot of the rescues do. So I had the task of renaming him, and it has to be like the perfect fit. It took me like a week or two. I was thinking to help him learn his name. I know like the 2 syllables and the E sound at the end. That was like a good, that helps them remember their names. So I kept coming up with names, and then I'm like, does he look like this? Does he look like a Douglas? Does he look like this? I would text my sister. I'm like, oh, what about this name? She just liked every single name. She's like, that's a good one. That's a good one. But then my partner, Mark, was like, no, he doesn't look like that. He's not a Douglas. He's not a Franklin. So I think I initially came up with like Barley, and I was walking him in the neighborhood, and an older gentleman who lives on the circle, I had met him because he had a dog as well. And I told him what I was going to name him. And he was like, what about Barney? Because he had a previous dog named Barney. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And then I realized later, I'm like, he is such a Barney. Like Barney Rubble, Barney from The Simpsons, like Barney the dinosaur. Like he's Barney. Like he's goofy. And now I can't imagine any other name for him.
How I Met Your Mother, Barney.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother, Barney. Yeah. He is a goofy, like he is a goofy dog. He has so much personality, he has so much spunk. And I love watching Barney on Instagram, because he does have such positive interactions with other dogs. And that's kind of what I want you to talk about a little bit tonight, is because you have had a very different experience at the dog park than a lot of people have. And we don't often get to share positive stories about the dog park. So I'd really like you to talk about, why you decided to go to the dog park and what it's turned into for you guys.
Yeah, so when I first got him, I would walk him around the neighborhood a lot. And I was figuring out other places to walk him. There's lots of places to like hike around here, which is great. As I started to get to know him, I realized that socialization was important to him. He loved other dogs. He loved other people. So I started Googling dog parks probably like a month or 2 after I got him. And I just picked the closest one, which is about 15 minutes away. And we just went and tried it. And it was good. I didn't meet the people right away that I know now, because we would go at different times. We just tried it out, and Barney loved it. He loves interacting with other dogs. So I would go like once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. Then I started meeting more people that would regularly be there. And he started to meet the dogs that would regularly be there. And he started to become friends. And I became friends with like a really good group of people. So we all go around the same time. We call it the 3 o'clock club because we're all around there at the same time. And it keeps growing because there's other people that are like, okay, like they fit it. That group of people just get it. They understand dog behavior. We all look out for each other. We will pick up each other's dogs if they go to the bathroom, pull stuff out of their mouth if they're chewing on stuff. We just get it. Not everyone gets it. Yes, there has been bad experiences. There's people who don't pay attention to their dogs, who bring kids in when you're not supposed to bring kids in. Sometimes the kids get knocked over, and there's been dog fights. And I've had people misunderstand Barney's play style because he does like to play rough. He does use his mouth, and they think that he's biting their dog, and he's not. He's play biting, and I try to explain it to them, and sometimes they get upset, and sometimes they'll leave. It kind of is what it is. Most things stem from a misunderstanding, especially of dog behavior, I've realized. It's not my job to educate people. I take Barney off the dog, and I let them leave or whatever they want to do. But the positive experience is far away the negative. And I think a lot of people tend to focus on the negative experience. If they have had one negative experience at a dog park, they write it off as it's not a good place to be. It's not a good dog park. It's not good people. It's not good dogs. And that's just not true. You got to give it another chance. I haven't had great experience with Barney every single time. Sometimes he's been too boisterous, and I've had to take him out early or give him a little like time out and figure out his behavior and like Google more things to try to figure out what he needs from me or how do I modify his behavior. But that group of people understand. They never judge. They step in to like help when people are arguing. There was actually an altercation the other day on Monday, actually right after you and I spoke, which I thought was funny, but the right people stepped in to break it up. It was just a misunderstanding. People get, hot-headed. For the most part, I got really lucky. I didn't realize a lot of people have bad experiences because I've had mostly good because of those people. They get it. They've been going there for years, a lot of them. And I've become friends with them outside of the dog park. And they've encouraged me they encouraged the social media thing. They like the videos. They encouraged me to do the dog walking. They give me advice. It's really nice. I'm really lucky to find a really good community that I didn't realize I needed, especially for Barney. People who love Barney as much as I do.
I think that's incredible because you don't really often hear people talking about the dog park as a community because there is a lot of negative things that happen. The dog park that I used to take Fitz to is, it's a big fenced-in area and it has a circle trail that you can walk around. But the problem that I would run into is that, the dog owners would be walking with their friends or sitting on the benches and, like you said, not paying attention to their dogs. And then that is the dog that is causing problems or the pack of dogs that's causing problems because the dog parents are sitting over here having a conversation and their dogs are running around in, this group, rushing other dogs or, tumbling around. And then there's an altercation and biting and some dog parks have rules, and some don't. So the one here, there's like an area, if you have a small dog that's, 20 pounds or less, you have to go in this area. And anything larger than that can go in the big area. And then there's a private training area for dogs that cannot socialize with other dogs. And there's supposed to be an annual fee that you pay. And other than that, that's it. Our dog park doesn't have any rules. But you said yours doesn't allow kids?
So there are rules posted, but there's no one to enforce them. The dog park was donated by a group that funded it, but there's no enforcement. There's people who just go and clean up, and it's a donation based. So you just leave money if you feel like it. So not everyone leaves money. Not everyone cleans up after their dog, but our group of people, we go around and clean, but there is a list of rules when you come in. No one reads them. I've read them. I know the rules. They're kind of common sense rules. It's like no kids under 12 because of the dangers. Barney, when he gets running, gets really excited, he has blinders on and he is right at that knee level. He's knocked at least 5 people down. I think I've stopped keeping track, and every time he runs, I just go, watch out. And I warn people because they were usually older people, and I felt really bad. Like, he'd take the legs right out from under them. But if you knock a kid over, he's running into their whole body. Or if a kid gets involved in a dog fight or anything like that. So no children under 12, and teenagers up to like 16 have to be accompanied by an adult. Most of the time, people follow that rule. No smoking and all that. Most of the time, people follow that rule. I do see like cigarette butts, so we just pick them up. There's other rules. You have to report dog bites. There's a lot of other rules, but they're really like common sense rules. Pick up after your dog. If you have more than 3, you have to keep them on a leash at all times. But again, that's really, you have to know your dog. And the group of people that I know there, we know our dogs. We keep an eye on our dogs. We're usually up. We're all around in a group chit-chatting, but we're all keeping an eye on all of our dogs. And actually the other dogs, because if we think they're going to be an issue. One of the people in the group, she knows her dog she's all about the ball. She just throws the ball every time for her. And if a dog gets near her, sometimes she can snap at them if they go near her ball. So she knows that. She keeps a close eye on her. And she will get her away from a dog that is walking towards her. So it's a lot of proactive parenting, I guess, and defensive a little for the dogs and people we don't know. But for the most part, it's actually been fairly quiet. We'll see if more people start to come when the weather gets nice. But I really can rely on those people. So it's not just me looking out for Barney. They all are looking out for Barney.
Again, I think that is excellent because, you know, like I said, I went to the dog park with my friend, and, you know, there was a guy that would help me break up dog fights when they would happen. And that was kind of like the extent of it. Most of the other people never talked to us. I got yelled at a lot every time I would break up dog fights, you know, because people get upset when you touch their dog. But if you're touching their dog to break up a dog fight, like, and they're mad at you, it's hard to be like, I'm sorry, but your dog was biting this other dog. I'm not going to let that happen. So that people get really defensive about that kind of stuff too. And, you know, I think that when you go into public situations like that, you know, so many people, we've talked about leash laws and, you know, dogs rushing other dogs in public places or in, you know, just other parks because owners have taken the leashes off. Or we had another gal talk about how they were at a park one day and they were sitting on their like blanket at the park and her dog was off leash and somebody let their dog just come up and walk up on their blanket and pee on it. And just, I mean, just things like that it's like, you know, what the heck? Like social niceties just, they don't extend in a lot of areas. So I think it's really cool that you guys put in that extra effort to pick up the trash and pick up other people's dog poop, including yours, and just make sure that it's a nice place for other people to be. Is your dog park open like year round?
Yes.
You see, ours closes from like November to the end of February, I think, because we get so much snow and cold here that you can't really be out there. It's not safe for anybody. So they close it down for a few months. So it's nice that you're able to have access to it year round, especially like you said, you don't have a fenced in yard and that playtime is so valuable to Barney. Why don't you talk a little bit about Barney's friendship with Clyde? Because, you know, Bonnie and Clyde, Barney and Clyde, it's very similar, but the two of them together is very Bonnie and Clyde. They seem to be a very well-matched pair.
Yes, they are. And actually, it took me like a few months to finally put that together. And when I was like, oh my God, Barney and Clyde, I thought it was like a genius. And I was like, why did this take me so long? So Clyde, he started going, time flies. He started going to the park a few months after me and Barney started going. I don't remember if they hit it off right away. Barney kind of played with a bunch of different dogs. Now he's really particular about which dogs he likes to play with. And I do remember them getting along. And then they just blossomed into this like great friendship. So Clyde, he looks like a hound mix. He's just a really tall hound mix. He's so easygoing. He loves to play. He's pretty high energy. His owner takes him out a lot to run on the beach and because he needs to like stretch his big legs, and he takes him to the park to socialize because he does love other dogs. Barney was just drawn to him because Clyde would put up with Barney's rough play Barney likes to wrestle. Barney likes to bite at the neck. Barney likes to bite at the collar. And Clyde just lets him. And it's funny because Clyde is so tall and Barney is a lot shorter. So Clyde always goes over and Barney goes under. And then they each take turns like body slamming each other to the ground. And Barney likes to sit on Clyde and he lets him get up. And then Clyde goes back for more. They just get along so well. I didn't realize he could find dogs that he gets along with so well. There's a few others he gets along with, but Clyde's probably like his number one. It's like his number one best friend. He's the right size for Barney and the right weight because he also likes to play. Barney likes to play with little AJ, who's a Jack Russell, which they play well together, but Barney a lot of times squishes him. So AJ goes and plays with the other little dogs, but he can't hurt Clyde. Clyde is bigger than him. So it's really Clyde's personality putting up with Barney. Not many people can play at Barney's speed. He is a WWE wrestler. They do little wrestling moves, like body slamming. And yeah, my sister's dog as well wrestles well with him. But I have found that not every dog likes to be body slammed and bum rushed and jumped on. But Clyde does. Clyde loves it. He loves the attention. He loves rough play. So they've gotten along so well. That's why I started boarding Clyde when his owner is away, because they just play all night. They're just so happy to be together. I got really lucky with that.
You did get really lucky with that. And something that like I have learned about like dog body language and play behavior is that it's really important for two dogs that play well together to be able to switch. So like one is bowing and the other one is up, and then the other one is bowing and the other one is up. So for them to trade positions back and forth like Barney and Clyde do is really, really important. And that is positive play interaction. It doesn't matter if they're body slamming each other as long as they're not, like actually hurting each other. And play biting is a thing. That's something that's probably going to get some controversial comments because people do get upset about that. But the thing is that if a dog is not biting down, you can roughhouse and play. I mean, there have been plenty of dogs in my life that, they'll tug or they'll, like bite at your hand or they'll put their mouth over your hand and they won't bite down. They're just, they're grabbing onto you. I have a client that I've had for years and years and years. His name is Henry. I house sat for them, dog sat for them. I clean their house. And his name is Henry. And every time I come over, Henry comes to the door and he puts his hand or his mouth over my hand and then he guides me through the house to the couch, and I have to sit down and properly greet him before I can go about whatever else I need to do, because that is how Henry wants to interact. And it's not necessarily something the owners like. They always ask me, can you train him not to do that? And I'm like, well, that's a complicated question. We can, depends on how much time you want to put into it, right? But he's not hurting me, that's just a playful thing that he likes to do. So I think that as long as you are being as active and interactive with Barney and you clearly have good communication with these other owners in your play group, I think that you're doing the exact right thing in this situation. And like you said, you take him off and you help the owner get the dog out or whatever if, they feel his play style is too rough for them. As long as you're managing that, I don't think that there's any issue with that. And I mean, clearly it hasn't escalated because I know that you wouldn't return if you felt that his behavior was dangerous to other dogs.
Yeah, I don't think he's a threat. I grew up with dogs, and I also she was a part Chow mix. And once we bonded really well as I got older, when I would get home, she would grab my arm just gently and guide me somewhere where I could sit and pet her. Also, if I didn't look at her while I pet her, she would just hit me in the face. But again, like gently. So I thought that was a normal dog thing. So when I got Barney and he loves to roughhouse, I usually use the blanket as a protection to make sure, but he never bites down hard. Yeah, his teeth are hard. That's why I use the blanket. I just push him around and he bites at the blanket. I didn't realize not every dog played that way until I got to the park, and some people were misunderstanding him playing with their dog. Because, yeah, he was biting at the neck, but I thought it was clear that he's not biting, that he's grasping around the neck. And the other dog, there was one time the other dog was reacting positively. The dog was going towards Barney and wanting to play with him. So I was confused, but the owner was upset. Then I started to realize, yeah, not everyone likes Barty's play style. Not every dog will like that. Not every owner might understand that. I've done a lot of research about dog behavior, so I can make sure that, yeah, it's okay that he does that. I'm not going to change that because other dogs don't have a problem with it. He's never bitten a dog. He's never bitten a person. I don't think he ever will. And I do actually keep a close eye on him because I feel like if he's getting too rough, because there was a time where he was getting a little play aggressive. He was just getting overexcited. And because there are lots of new dogs, and so I would have to give him a little time out to just cool off. That's why I keep a harness on him. It has a handle on the back, so I could just pull him off and we'd take a breather. So I keep a really close eye on him so I can judge his behavior if it's getting too boisterous. Him and Clyde, they'll usually correct each other. If he nips him a little hard or whatever it is, they know each other so well, so I'm not really worried. But we're always keeping an eye on them. Just if any situation gets out of hand, it's better to get it before.
Well, I can say as a vet tech, as a dog owner, as a dog trainer in training, and, just in general, a dog lover, that I really respect you for that, because there are not that many people who are dedicated to that. And you are a huge part of the reason that you're having those positive interactions at the dog park. And, I think that if more people would realize that if they could be proactive about the situation and be in the situation and watch their dog's body language and know their dog's play style, that they could potentially have better interactions too. Now, I'm not saying that every dog is suited for a dog park, because not every dog is suited for a dog park. Fitz is not suited for dog parks. He's dog selective. He did not genuinely like being there, so we stopped going. And, there were too many dog fights for me. I was breaking up too many dog fights. But I think that it's so important that we're sharing that it is possible to have these good interactions. So can you kind of give the listeners an idea of what you would recommend people look for in other owners if you're going to let your dog interact with them, and like what your general experience with other people and their personalities and the types of dogs they have has been, so that other people kind of have an idea of what kind of owners to look for?
So I look for, when new people come in, if they go and just sit, they let their dog in, they just sit on the bench. They're not getting up and walking with their dog, because some people do that. Sometimes I meet the dog and never the owner. Usually their dogs are fine, but those people I usually never get to know. Those are the people who just want to come in, sit on the bench, and let their dog run around. When I found my group of people, I realized they get it. It's a little hard to explain. It's like when you meet someone, they just get it. They get dog behavior. Sometimes Barty would be like playing too rough, and I'd rush over because I was always afraid the owner would get upset because they didn't understand Barty. They would misunderstand Barty's play style. And when I would get the reaction like, oh, it's fine, their dog, that's normal behavior, them, like the humping thing, some people freak out. Barty doesn't really hump, but like some people's dogs hump and they're like, no, oh my God, they run over. And some people are like, it's normal. Let them figure it out. If the other dog doesn't like it, let them figure it out. Unless it's going to lead to a fight, because there's one dog who doesn't like to be humped, she will turn around and try and snap at another dog. Let them kind of figure it out. Those people, I was like, oh, okay, these are my people. They're the ones who kind of calm me down and like kind of reassure me that like everything is fine. It's normal dog behavior. It's kind of like the veterans. It is an older group of people. They've been around the block. They've seen a million dogs. They've had a ton of dogs. They kind of get it. If I have a question, they usually know the answer. So it's more like the laid back people, but also the people who are getting up and walking around with their dogs and interacting with the other people, because some do not. So that's like the main thing, is just the open-minded, laid back people who either are willing to learn dog behavior or who already know dog behavior. Because there's a lot of new people who come in and they're very open to learning dog behavior. Because some, they're like, oh, why is Barty trying to bite at them? And I'm like, he's not. And they're like, oh, okay, I wasn't sure. And then they learn. So those people, you just have to have an open mind, realize you don't know everything, and kind of take a cue from other people who know more than you. So that's my group of people. They know more than me, so I look to them.
I think that that's important. Like, I think that everybody can always be learning. So it's always good to have people who have more experience. And it's also good to have people who don't have any experience, because that's where we all learn new lessons, right? Is when we work together. And also, I agree with you on the actively being involved. I don't necessarily think you need to micromanage your dog at the dog park, because
No.
how are they supposed to have fun if you're doing that, right? Like, if you're taking them there to socialize, you got to let them play, but you do need to be mindful of others and how the dog's interaction is actually going.
Yeah. Those are also the people I don't prefer to be around, the people who are hovering. There's this one gentleman, he brings a lab in. I believe he's trying to breed her, and Barney was humping her at some point because he humps to kind of get a reaction and get that dog to play with him, but Barney is fixed. So I don't think his dog was fixed. He was hovering and he was like pushing Barney and any other dog off that actually like went near his dog. That guy, I just found that a little annoying. But so yeah, I don't like the people who hover too much, and I don't like the people who kind of just sit on the bench and just let their dogs do whatever. Yeah, so like somewhere in the middle. So we all have like an understanding, because we're all sharing that space together. So we all need to have like an open line of communication, because I tell people, hey, that dog doesn't like when you go near his or her ball. Just kind of give them a heads up so they know if their dog goes near them, they can kind of get them out of the way.
Again, I think that that's really great that you have other people to lean on, and other people like, same for you, you have other people that know Barney and what his kind of moves are, so you can watch out for each other and help in those situations. Let me ask you a question. How did you prepare Barney before you took him to the park? Did you do any kind of like specific training with him? I know you said you walked around a lot, but did you do like any specific obedience kind of things? Did you test him in any kind of way before you took him to the dog park, or did you just say, let's see how this goes?
So when I first got him, we did a lot of training. We had to do like the potty training. We did a lot of training, just walking around the neighborhood. There wasn't many people out because I got him at the end of January, so it was cold out. So he didn't get too many interactions. Actually, I think I realized he needed more socialization, because I think we would see people on our hikes and he'd want to say hi, and he was always friendly. So I just kind of winged it and looked up a dog park and went and just monitored him to see how he reacted. I was told from the rescue that he loved dogs, he loved people, he loved cats, and I was seeing that from him just in the few interactions he had had. So I kind of just winged it. I didn't really prepare him, and I just watched his behavior. And we would only go for like a half hour at first, and then we started upping it to an hour, and we would only go like once or twice a week, and then we upped it to 3. Now, because of that group of people and dogs, I go every day during the week. So it's kind of, I didn't really prepare him. I kind of just wanted to see if it was going to work out.
But you did prepare yourself, because you've said a couple of times now that you have done research and that you've looked up dog behavior. And I'm guessing that that means that you watched videos on YouTube and you read articles about dog behavior. And I'm guessing that that means that you kind of knew what to look for in those instances. So you did prepare in that way.
I did do a lot of research, but I owned dogs when I was growing up for a very long time, until I was in my late teens. So I kind of already knew dog behavior in general, like the hair standing up, the ears back, the tail. And I knew Barney was not a skittish dog, or else I would not have taken him to the park. He was a very outgoing dog. He was happy to do anything. He never got scared. He doesn't get scared when trucks drive by. He actually is interested. He wants to go into the truck or whatever it is. So I thought he was a good fit to try the dog park, because I knew he wasn't fearful or reactive or skittish at all. But I did do a lot of research to give myself the confidence. I did watch a lot of videos. I questioned for a while if I should get a trainer, but I really wanted to work with Barney to see on what I needed to have a trainer help me with. So over time, I kind of figured out a lot of his issues. And if I had a question, I would kind of just Google and do more research about it. But I did think he was a good candidate for the dog park right off the bat. And we just kind of went slow from there.
Well, I really like that you have taken, your past experiences, but still, asked for help, looked for resources and things like that, because I think that that's probably the biggest problem in most instances, is that someone who grew up their entire life never having a dog wouldn't know all of these things. And then they get a puppy and they don't look up those things and they don't get a trainer and they're trying to do it all by themselves. they just don't know. And that's not their fault. They just need to be able to feel like they can ask questions. And I think that that's kind of another problem that happens at the dog park, is that there are some people that come in there and have no idea what they're doing. And that's not their fault, but they also feel intimidated. They're worried that they're going to be judged. They're worried that it's not okay to ask questions, or that somebody's going to get mad at them because they didn't, approach a situation properly. So I really think that, like you said, being open about monitoring who's around you, speaking to other owners, and engaging with people at the dog park is really, really important, because if you know who's around you and you can understand their dog's behavior, like you said, you can learn from them, and they can maybe teach you something about Barney that you didn't know, which is really, really great. So like I said, you being able to create a community out of this is just incredible, because I don't know how many people I can count that have had positive experiences at the dog park. There aren't that many. So I love that, you really thought about what was best for your dog and what was best for you before you, decided, hey, this is a good idea. You made sure, like you said, he came with a good history of other dogs and cats and people. And he really does seem very friendly and very boisterous in his videos that you put up of him. And he's just, I don't know, he's got one of those faces where you just look at him and he just makes you smile. You're like, look at that happy little doggo, I don't know if it's the little spot over his eye or what it is, but he's got that feel good vibe to him. And he's just adorable. What's your favorite thing about Barney?
Oh, man. I think it's his goofiness. He does make me laugh. He makes me smile. I didn't realize what I had gotten him. He looks like a cartoon dog. A lot of people make those comments about his looks, but it was his personality that really drew me to his profile. And as soon as he got off the transport, I remember it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark. It was freezing. He was just so happy. He was running around. I took him. He rolled over on his belly, just on his back. He wanted me to rub his belly. He's just so happy to be around, and so goofy. I think that's my favorite thing about him.
I think that he's just a lovable little guy, and he really is a very unique looking dog. I would definitely agree with the cartoon. Between his crazy hair and his little eye patch, and then he's so short. Like, that was the thing that was really unexpected, because initially you had just put some photos of him up and it was just more his face and stuff. And then I see him playing with Clyde, and then I see him playing with some of the other dogs, and I'm like, look how short he is. He's so short. He's got little short legs, and he really is just a very unique dog. And I think that he does have that special ability to bring out, joy in people and joy in other dogs. And I think that it's great that you guys are out there contributing that to society.
He's definitely a joy to be around. He brings happiness to the people that see him. The random people we meet on the hikes, they're happy to see him. The people in the neighborhood, he's like a superstar in the neighborhood. The kids all know him. They go, it's Barney. They run up and he loves it. Everyone knows him. He does bring, joy to people. So I'm glad it's not just me that he's bringing that joy to. And everyone at the dog park, they announce when he arrives, and he comes in, he doesn't know what to do. He's like, where's the party? So he is always happy. Which makes me happy. It reminds me to be happy, because just look at him. It's I can't be mad or sad. There's a Barney there. Gotta be happy.
I love that. That's the best part about having a dog, right? Is having that joy and having that love and those simple reminders to just be present and live in the moment and enjoy that time and that bond with your dog. And I'm really glad that you guys share that. Okay, so if there was anything that you could tell somebody when they were looking for a dog like you did, what would be your best recommendation for somebody trying to find a companion?
So I'd put on the parameters for Pet Finder that he had to be good with people, with other dogs and cats, because we have a cat. And there's a lot of dogs in the neighborhood. And I had put a moderate energy level because we don't have a fenced-in yard. I knew I couldn't handle high energy. I kind of actually had to assess myself before I filled out what I thought I needed and really assess myself, like realistically. And I was like, I know I can't handle high energy. I don't have it in me. So moderate at best. No puppies. I knew I couldn't handle the puppy stress. And I wanted to give an older dog that maybe people look over because everyone loves the puppies a chance. But I wanted a dog that was already a dog. So I already knew those things about myself. But honestly, I learned a lot more about myself when I got him. I really thought I was prepared because I had a lot of dog experience growing up. But back growing up, like we didn't really do a lot of training, and there wasn't a lot of like understanding actual dog behavior. We kind of just like figured it out. So I thought I knew a lot more than I did, but I knew I would learn more. And when I got Barney, I was a little more overwhelmed than I had initially thought it was going to be. And I kept questioning. I was like, was this the right thing to do? Obviously, I'm going to stick with it. I made this commitment. He's my responsibility. And over time, I was like, yes, this was the right thing to do. It was a lot at first. We didn't do crate training growing up. But I did crate training with him so we could do the potty training and really work with him on what he needed. That was a new area that I have never had to do before, was actually training and walking with him and doing all those little things. What I would tell someone is no matter how prepared you think you are, you're probably not. So be open to looking for help, looking for training, looking online, looking for people who are going to know more than you do, because you definitely will learn things you definitely thought you knew that you didn't know. And be really honest with the adoption process of what you think you really can handle. And when I had that conversation with the adoption agency, the rescue, I was completely honest with them. Like, we don't have the fenced-in yard, so I want to make sure that he would be the right fit. Because if they didn't think he was going to be the right fit, that's up to them. I wanted to make sure it was going to be mutually beneficial for everyone, so it could be a success. Because I'm sure they get a lot of people who, return the dogs and stuff like that. And I was like, this is not going to be me. This is it. This is my dedication, my promise that I would do everything in my power to make sure he has a good life. He has a good home. So I take advice from the rescue. They said, like, get the crate, all that stuff. I got all that stuff beforehand, and just a lot of research constantly. Just make sure you're educated. Education is a really powerful tool. Being in the know, and like, question your vet when Barty eats something weird. I'm like, oh my God, is this okay? Just call the vet up, and I'm like, okay, it's okay, or it's not, and I have to take him. Don't just like, oh, okay, I'll wait a day or two to see if it's okay. Like, no, I call right away. I guess that's really my advice. I'm not sure if it's.
I think that's great advice. No, I mean, that's kind of the thing that we've talked about before on the show, is that making sure that you pick a dog that fits your lifestyle, making sure that you are really honest, like you said, with yourself about what your threshold and your ability to take care of the dog is, and what, the activity level and all that stuff. So I think that you did an excellent job. And I can't wait to see more adventures with you and Barney. And I really, really, really appreciate you joining us here tonight. And I think we'll probably just wrap up the episode here. So thank you again so much for being here, Tanya. And we will see you guys next week on Straight Up Dog Talk.
Thank you.
Straight Up Dog Talk was created by Emily Breslin. It is edited, produced, and co-hosted by Josh Wasta under the supervision of Straight Up Dog Talk, LLC, and Emily Breslin. If you're enjoying this podcast, follow or subscribe to be sure you don't miss an episode, and leave us a review on your favorite platform. Looking for more honest and relatable dog content? Check out our sister show, Unpacked, with Jerry Sheriff and Madison Simpson. Thanks for listening to Straight Up Dog Talk. See you next week.